Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of We Love Our Kids But. I'm Justin McClure.
And I am Ami McClure.
My lovely wife. We are the McClure family, and today's episode is necessary and should be very entertaining, but it's going to be heavy, and a lot of times we have to talk about heavy subjects. I know sometimes we don't want to, but life is about that. Guys, before we get started, please like, subscribe wherever you are. It's something free you can do to support us. Just click the button. It really helps us out. So let's get into it. We love our kids, but how do we prepare our kids, family, anyone, for the inevitable of passing away, not being here, the awful death word?
How do we prepare them to handle the fact that, as they're going out into the world and getting to know people, that it's possible that, someone they know and possibly be close to could pass away and things like that. It's really just someone close to them in life that, will pass away eventually, but it could happen sooner than expected, and be something sad and tragic. So we have a friend of the family that recently passed, and
last night, as of recording this, we didn't even know this person was sick. She died of cancer, and we just talked to her several months ago. They're a friend of the family. They have a business, and it's Sasha and Samantha, and it's sad that so much grief is from an Instagram post. That's how you read about news these days. I guess that's the new obituary.
Well, I'm telling you honestly, this is why on my personal YouTube channel I had this video about making friends, and part of that, even not just making friends, was just staying more in touch with people in general, because that's something that I've been notoriously bad at, especially since having children, really, is because you just get so busy and consumed, and your day flies by you, and you're working and this, and by the time you look up, you're like, oh, okay, well, now it's a little bit of me time, or now I'm going to sit down. So for me, I've said throughout my day, I will find even just 5 minutes to just say, hey, how you doing, and that is how I felt kind of shell-shocked by this, because I think the last time I talked to her was January. And I recently had this thought to myself, okay, I'm going to go through my phone, and people that, she's not my best friend, but totally would talk to her. She was wishing me a happy birthday when that was the last conversation I had with her. We talked back and forth a little bit, and didn't talk to her since, and I was in my mind, I'll talk to her again in a couple months, instead of just saying, okay, let me make sure I check up on people once a month for people like her who, yeah, she doesn't live here, and we're not close in that way, but she was a sweet person. She was great every time she was in her home. The kids loved them. It was just.
How do you prepare them for this? How do you guys prepare your family? Have you guys gone through death? Have you gone through grieving this way? It's awful. Today, I took the kids out to Starbucks, and I told them, I said, showed them pictures, and I said, do you remember these people? Do you remember these ladies? And of course they did. And I said, well, this one is no longer here. And even, they got it right. They understood. They had all these questions. And Alexis said, and I said, she was 29 or 20, she was young, It's so sad to talk about people in that way. But then again, it's like, man, I hope you guys really tune into this and listen to this, because this is important. Because not being here is part of life, just as being here is life. It's like you're going to have winter every year. You're going to have winter. And nobody's ever going to say, oh my gosh, how do we avoid? It's going to come. Just like the passing of our body into a spiritual existence, if that's what you want to say, is going to happen. It's going to happen. The fact is, it's so difficult for the people that are here that love someone who's not here. I think those people have peace, and they're at they're not here anymore. It's sad for people to have a memory of someone and to carry that around. That is a very difficult part about life. And you're upset, so I'll let you talk and talk about your feelings.
Yeah, like I said, it's not like we were best friends, but she was somebody who we would randomly talk to each other every couple of months. And just the fact that I hadn't spoken to her since January and had no idea she was sick, that's kind of, I guess, what's getting me. I feel like obviously nothing I could have done for her sickness, but not even having an idea she was sick to have spoken to her. I don't know what I could have possibly contributed to her in that time, but it just feels, sad that I didn't know. And you know, and even for Samantha, like wasn't able to
there's nothing,
talk, and
there's nothing you could have done, or I think you did what you could do, which is be as polite and jovial as you could. I would talk to her constantly a lot because I had these silly stories. I was always doing silly stories, and she would always respond. If it's her on Instagram, she would always say, "I love your sense of humor. I love, you know, you brighten my day because you're silly and you're absurd."
But what I'm saying, when people, like I noticed they posted last night, when those things happen, you just never think that it's like, oh, they're going through something like this. You're just like, oh, maybe they're reprocessing their business. Like, I don't know what I thought. I didn't see them through my feed, and I was like, oh, okay, I don't know. There was no action on my part. And again, this is why I made that video recently, because I feel like I want to take more action in those type of ways, because life is about relationships, and you know, whether somebody's gone or not, like I always want to be a positive relationship for anybody that I know, which means even in the sense of checking on them. Us not being close, I'm sure just checking on somebody once a month makes them feel good.
It does, and a lot of times we get in our own ego. We're like, I'm not checking in with them, they should check in with me. And that's our ego, and sometimes you don't know what somebody's going through, and you don't know how reaching out to them can just potentially save their life. So many people will deal with things, like when somebody reaches out to me, obviously you really love it, you cherish it. So with this person who is no longer here, it's like, you don't hear from them because they're sick. You know, she died of cancer, and it seemed to be very rapid, and it spread very aggressively, and she's no longer here. F cancer, that's what I have to say. Cancer is just the worst thing ever. My last day could be today. We always think we're gonna live to be 88, but sometimes our last day is coming up. You can only live the best life that you can, because death is part of life, just like everything else. It's meant to happen. I always get annoyed when people find out when somebody died and they say, how did the person die? How did they die? No, how did they live? How did they live? How did they live their life? Did they live their life with passion and exploring relationships and all these different things? Because in the end, we all die the same. We all just stop breathing and we die. If it's cancer, heart attack, or whatever, something happens. Like, why? That's not interesting. And I understand that some people want to talk about that, but it's like, to me, it's like, how did somebody live? Like Sasha, who's not here, she lived, from what I can see, a great life. She was very friendly. She was very ambitious. She had a very strong hustle, like very impressive to me and to us. So from my point, she lived great.
Well, I think people ask that question mostly when it's somebody who unexpectedly, as far as like, you know, she wasn't 80. When somebody's 80, no one asks how they die. You know, it's because it's like, wow, how did this person, like, you expect them to be here so much longer? They probably had so many more goals for themselves, you know. And I know for a fact that Sasha and Samantha both had goals for their career and business that we've talked about in recent months that we were going to like try and work on. And I was talking to them about, you know, things they should do and how they had such amazing personalities. They need to show it more. Like just knowing that they had a plan, and I'm sure this wasn't it.